Hi, my name is Cyclope, and I'll be discussing with you how cars have changed from then and when they first were produced to now. I'll inform you about how they've changed over times and how different brands have come along. And I'll also tell you how they're helpful in everyday life. And I'll do it when cars first started off, and then what people thought of cars, and how different brands have came along over time. And then the last thing is technological advances in today's cars. First, when cars first came along. The first automobiles were powered by steam or hydrogen. In 1768, the first steam-powered automobile was built by Nicholas Joseph Cognan. And then in 1807, a car was produced that ran on hydrogen. And then there was transition to gasoline-powered cars. In 1886, the first gas-powered car was created by Carl Benz. The first car was said to only go 10 miles per hour, so it wouldn't get you anywhere very fast, but then again, it was a little bit easier than maybe hitching up a whole team and buggy. And Benz manufactured many more cars after this as time progressed. Now that you understand what the first cars were like and how they were different from the cars we have today, I'll give you an idea of what people thought of cars. People thought that they weren't very practical. In a 1982 article from the Golden Finch states, at first, people did not think of them as something useful. They were more like toys. So people didn't see how a car like this could be something useful to them. They didn't see how it would help them. They felt like they didn't have a good use and were just for fun and for rich people. In the same Goldfinch article, another statement is, early cars were also expensive and unreliable. Even if people wanted one, they most likely couldn't afford it. People didn't have enough money back then to afford cars. And they weren't as reliable as they are today. Many times, if you took an all-day trip, one or even two tires would go flat on this trip. Eventually, cars were affordable, though. Henry Ford's Model T automobile was an affordable car and more dependent than other vehicles. Middle-class Americans could afford this car on their incomes. Cars handled better on gravel roads over time as well. Many people didn't have paved highways. A lot of people drove down long stretches of gravel. Now that you know what people thought of cars, we can discuss the different brands that came along over time. Different brands include the three big competitors were Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. These were known as the Big Three competitors. They were always producing cars and trying to outdo one another. And then some tried but failed. Many businesses started off but never quite made it. Many went bankrupt or didn't have a desirable car that people wanted. Some cars weren't as attractive as other cars. Cars like Ford and General Motors were attractive and people liked those more. Now that you know the different brands of cars and how some of them didn't make it, I will tell you the technological advances we have today in our cars. In a quote from Brainy Quote website by Elon Musk states, when Henry Ford made cheap, reliable cars, people said, nah, what's wrong with a horse? That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. People rely on their cars today. We can't get from one place to another without a car. Walking takes far too long, and we're always in a hurry. And they have become better over time. We have bigger engines, better fuel economy than when they first began. We have cars that don't even run on gas now. Some cars are run on electricity. You plug up your battery, it charges the car, the next day it's good to run, and you do the same thing the next evening. Companies are also working on a self-navigating vehicle, which means the vehicle basically drives itself. It has cameras set up and is run by Google Maps, which tells it where to go and when to stop, and the cameras activate and they help kind of function the car. There are even solar-powered cars now. Ford Motor Companies are even working on one. A car run on solar power. You leave it set outside during the day and it's charged up and ready to go. These electric and solar-powered cars aren't as efficient as a gas-powered car yet. They don't seem to go as far or hold up as good, but companies are working on them to make them better. So, cars are a practical way of life now. We use them in our everyday lives. They are much faster than a bicycle or horse and wagon. It takes far too long to hook up a horse and wagon, and today we're so reliable on getting there quick and on time that we almost couldn't do it. And they're more advanced to help better our lives. They have better heating systems. They have air conditioning. We have radios. Some of the first cars did have radios, but they weren't as good. And so, I would like to encourage you to appreciate the luxury of these vehicles. Some people get a very nice car and they still complain that it's not enough. And I hope you enjoyed my speech.